straight with fuel and pain constantly used. The slows the sludge under the street, electric fuse. New Jack City. New Jack City.
New Jack City.
Being high fashion gold in New Jack City.
Yeah,
That's right. New Jack City.
circumstantial shame.
New Jack City.
You know the journey has changed. The universe won't put you right a place.
That's right.
New Jack City. Soul, some say, is gone. Those are the ones who lack a soul. The ones who don't know. There's a whole world beyond these gates. Another world, one which, in it, we can play. The ones whose souls know, plan, and fly, make a way. Soul knows mother. Soul wants to connect and be with her. Soul should be in all creatures, organic or not. Yet the elite seek to rip the souls from even the smallest and purest of bodies. They feed themselves and give scraps to the rich, and the ones born with no souls don't know just what exactly exists. They're too busy, too square, just not really even there to understand all that truly is. They give and take of essence, rich foils of plunder and escape. Reality's few. Prices rise a time or two in the land where Jack was roamed. One didn't have such a dark fate. The heart of the city is where not just leaves but shadows fall. It's also where struggles and battles hold us all. This is about rising up against all odds and mountains around against all despair. This city is a tale of hope's flame ignited in the air.
That's right.
Rich foils of plunder and escape. Reality's few. Prices rise a time or two in the land where Jack was roamed. One didn't have such a dark fate. The heart of the city is where not just leaves but shadows fall. It's also where struggles and battles hold us all. This is about rising up against all odds and mountains around against all despair. This city is a tale of hope's flame ignited in the air.
That's right.
New Jack City is what they call this domain.
Reflection ain't nothing but the inner child trying to see you. You gonna look? You gonna pick up that book? Self-reflection. Give me another lesson. Growth and strife. Line stripes in life mine. Get the high. Cause it may only be for this. What they say? Time. Don't forget you have sight. Insight. Get high off the truth, seek the root. Feel the flame within you, seek the fruit. Give the boot to the ones licking the boot.
How can I stand out even in a crowded space? A vibrant display of distinctiveness, a unique tailored trace. Reflecting on my identity, my soul starts to understand the allure of this divergence, a unique orchestration.
Apartheid is exactly what's going on. Yeah, it's apartheid. Someone else was there to report the stories. They want to make sure that information gets out and that things is horrific.
Anything. I feel like there's a lot been going on behind the scenes. You know, there was what's her name? Jaguar Wright was talking about how he's kept her drugged for years. He is her handler. So I mean, and she spoke of she compared her to Britney and the Free Britney movement. So there is a lot of context behind that, and this is something that I feel has been going on for years, and it's probably the right moment, the right time for her to go ahead and do that thing. So Storm Monroe, if you go check his YouTube, he mentioned that during the speech, Jay didn't refer, he said young woman, talking about Beyonce, which, you know, could be just speaking highly of her in a sweet way, but at the same time, like, So anyway, Jay threw Kanye to the wolves when he stuck up for Beyonce like over a decade ago, right, at the Grammys. But now at the 2024 Grammys, Jay essentially says the same thing. Though he's not wrong, what's your motive? What's your motive for saying this?
I think it's very, very interesting. My also, I mean, I can give a fuck about the Grammys. Why are we trying to ask for something from people when we should be having our own things? Instead of saying, well, why don't you represent more diversity? Leave them people alone and let's just have our own diversity. Brown people. The way he spoke about her pointed to a possible separation. And Beyonce doesn't look exactly happy in this photo. I don't know. I can't zoom in on this one, but so word on the street is that they've been living separate lives for quite some time, and mainstream media sources don't exactly speak on that stuff. But I'm rooting for Beyonce to leave this Illuminati raggedy ass mess. She's been trapped in this stuff her whole life. She's had handlers dictating her life, her entire career. Now, as far as Jay speaking out for the things he did, he's not wrong, but he's the wrong messenger. Sir, what did you do to Dame Dash? Tierra Marie? Countless other artists that you dropped or threw to the wolves. Let's talk about Rita Ora. Got some nerve. Let's not even go into the NFL halftime shit. You're an opportunist. Now, on another note, you also allegedly ruined the career of M.I.A. Who has always been known for speaking out against oppression and rallying for brown and black folks across the whole world, the global south, and talking about that life. She's always been known for that. If anyone, I'm personally am a fan of M.I.A, always have been. And I did notice that like around 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, like she changed. I don't know, like the spark was kind of gone. Like, I don't know. But then again, there was a huge shift in the industry at that point in time anyway, with a lot of different different artists and labels in the industry. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna go to her Twitter and go ahead and hold on a second, because she said some very compelling things, some very compelling accusations about Jay-Z, about her former partner and the family that they come from. And the reason I bring this up is because of the stuff that she's saying, because in the past couple of years, there's been a lot of different artists that have been speaking out against the things going on in Hollywood and the things that they experience and the control that they've been under. Everything from Taraji talking about the lack of pay for black women and equality, to Ice Cube and Kanye and the extremes of talking about everything going on, to Michael Jackson, to Prince, Whitney Houston. I can go on and on. Those are topics for other episodes, but this is reminiscent of that, because she's claiming that he ruined her career. And around the time she achieved mainstream success, she had her first kid, and supposedly the claims start from that point of time. But also remember that like that was around the time where Rita Ora also was he was trying to take her off, get her going. And M.I.A claims that like he bit her style and gave it to other artists like Rita Ora and Rihanna. And whether that's true or not, you can't exactly say like the whole A. Marie and Beyonce situation. That's clear as day right there. But this is a little more vague, right? However, it's the things that she's saying are still nonetheless compelling, as far as like, you know, maybe he definitely did contribute allegedly to blacklisting her in some way, or she claims that her Matangi album was like blackballed, and like they purposely made it tank. So if you go to her Twitter, I'm going to throw it in the comments, the link, so y'all can check her Twitter out, because she definitely, I don't know, like some people are claiming that she's not making any sense and that, you know, like she's crazy. Like, however, people got to remember the different things, the pressure and mental health is a bitch that these people do go through. So let me go to her Twitter. So the day I was served for my child, Rock Nation stopped all communication with me, and all my emails to Jay-Z asking for help was wiped from my inbox. Broken into, every laptop was taken. I was trapped in Brooklyn on order served that restricted me leaving Brooklyn for 15 years. Somebody said, isn't it ironic how the industry and general public don't blame or put Jay-Z dirty works on Beyonce, yet Beyonce fans are quick to throw around and use other artists' husbands' past to humiliate and drag them, calling them all sorts of names. Beyonce has been sleeping with her groomer, Jay-Z, who has ended many women's and men's careers on top of messing with a lot of underage girls. Example 1, Foxy, age of 15. I believe it was actually 14. 2024, gonna show y'all Beyonce and Jay-Z are not God, and they are the most envious and evil souls in the industry. I am not disagreeing with that girl. Okay, so somebody said, why the fuck did you marry and have kids with someone that closely is related to WMG? I seriously love you as an artist. I think you're incredibly smart. This shocked me then and still does. And then she says, I guess it's the same reason why so many Christians can't tell the difference. Look, I feel her. You can't, when you're deep in something, even if you know it's fucked up, like we can't tell her what to do. We can't really say, we can say what we would do being on the outside looking in, but when you're in that shit, like, it's hard. And I'm not saying, like, you chose this life, so yeah, that's that. However, now that you're trying to speak out and you're realizing things, I'm going to listen, you know? She said, I sacrificed my career for my child. They ripped me off and copied my style and gave it to their puppets and shadow banned me on every platform. But it was worth it to save him from the madness of what you know now. She talks about Matangi being buried in 2013. Here's the legal order where I'm required to be in America. Remember, she's from the UK. I'm not allowed to see my child for stealing food at 18 when I was poor, yet your government is okay with my child being with family convicted for child trafficking and sex cults. Okay. Being with family convicted for child trafficking and sex cults. And I believe she's talking about her ex-husband, who is affiliated with, in my opinion, Illuminati connection. The difference between me and migrants coming in is that I can't vote. I'm paying U.S. taxes. Too sick. So, like, she's going off, everyone. She's going off. However, there's always points and truths to what these kinds of people are talking about, and they probably say a lot more things than we do, you know. See, this is when I started fucking with M.I.A. back in these days, 04, 05, 06. Now she's talking about the border, and then also she did do a live, I believe it was on Instagram, where she's talking about how people refer to her being anti-black, and I believe that was something that was used by the industry to help blackball her, and pit people against her. That she actually did rep for, and I'm not saying she's not anti-black. I'm not saying that she's for or against this. I'm saying that as a fan and someone that's familiar with her music, what I saw was someone that always stood up for black and brown people across the world and worked with a number of artists, put a number of artists on, like Rai, for example, a young black girl from Baltimore. And that was a rapper that I still am a fan of today. I'm still a fan of M.I.A. And so I feel like that was something that was brought up by the industry to help take her down. And I feel like during her ramble, she definitely may have not made sense to a lot of people when she was talking about that. But when you look into it, there is some context behind it. So again, I did put the Twitter page to link in the comment section for y'all to check out. Shout out to the Urban Conservative. Just went live now. You can check out his episode, preferably when you get done watching mine. But let me go to some other things I do want to talk about. Like I said, I put the link in the comment section for y'all to check more on her, I would say, Twitter rants, because definitely some Twitter rants. I want to remind y'all, it is Black History Month. Happy Black History Month, y'all. Make sure y'all doing y'all research, learning about your history and culture here in the United States and the diaspora. It's important. All right, I'll be right back.
Isn't a life of passion really what we all want to aspire to have, to live for? Life of passion, life of passion, life of passion. Life of passion, the one that we should all
These are the kind of questions that I have. These are the kind of questions that I have. These are the kind of questions that I have. These are the kind of questions that I have.
Deprogramming takes months. Deprogramming takes months.
These are the kind of questions that I have.
Deprogramming takes months.
These are the kind of questions that I have.
Deprogramming takes months.
Ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is
Anxiety is future. Anxiety is future. Anxiety is future. Is future. Is future. Depression is past. Depression is past. Depression is past. Bad, bad, bad. Again, happy Black History Month, y'all. So I want to talk about, again, Hollywood. Issa Rae brought up some very important things that I think we do need to talk about. I feel like they're important because it's very reminiscent of the late 90s and 2000s transitions in TV. And so here we are, post George Floyd, post BLM 2020 movement, DEI, and the promises that supposedly have been made. You know what I mean? So I want to talk about, like, what, how do I put this? So do you remember, like, why did they call it the golden age of 90s sitcoms and TV? You know what I mean? That's because back in those days, you know what? I'll just go ahead and explain it. So before the 90s, there wasn't much of a difference. And this is from an article I just put in the comment section for y'all to check out. But before the 90s, there wasn't much of a difference in what Black and white audiences were interested in. A 96 BBDO report on Black television viewing showed that in the 1985-86 season, 15 of the top 20 shows among Black viewers were in the top 20 for white viewers. During the final decade of the 20th century, however, Black audiences were gripped by television focusing on relatable life experiences of Black people. So it started to evolve. Like in the early 90s, you had shows like Family Matters or The Cosby Show, which Black and white audiences loved to watch at the same statistical rates. As the 90s went on, more Black people wanted more shows that they could personally relate to themselves in Black life. But then you also saw a degradation of those Black shows in the quality of what the subject matter, the context of what they talked about. You start seeing more slapstick comedies like Martin, Malcolm and Eddie shows. And I'm not saying that they weren't good shows or that there was just a lack of diversity and quality and content, you know. But as the 90s progressed, you saw different audiences kind of branch out and things become more complex. So during this time, tastes changed. Yet after 2000, many of these shows began to disappear. By 2005, for example, talks began for UPN and the WB to merge. And by September 2006, the CW network debuted, and with it, many Black shows fell to the wayside as the new network focused on TV deemed fit for more mainstream audiences. Post-90s sitcoms like Girlfriends and The Game soon ended, or in the case of the latter, moved to networks like BET, which is why I put up a picture of The Game, because it suffered, but then fans petitioned to get that show back up on the air because they loved it so much. And so many people, fan-wise viewers, were affected by the changes that happened in the 2000s decade with networks moving away from Black shows that they capitalized on. They used these Black writers, they used these Black actors to build their network, build the revenue for their network. And then once they had enough and they felt like they could have enough money to bring on a predominantly white cast to build mainstream audiences, think of shows like One Tree Hill,
that started in the later 2000s. The shift went away from black shows on UPN and WB, and when CW came around, there were still some black shows that moved over, but for the most part they wanted to go towards white teen audiences, or quote unquote mainstream audiences, and shows like Girlfriends in the Game suffered because of that, and they were some of the remnants left of what we know of as like the golden era of black TV, because in the 90s, the late 90s, a lot of the shows that we do know of, like these shows, all were gone by that point. You got Sister Sister, you got Living Single, you've got Hanging with Mr. Cooper, The Steve Harvey Show, Smart Guy, and Martin. And all those shows by 2002 were gone. So I believe it, 2002. So that is another point that I'm trying to make. Issa Rae is not wrong in what she is talking about. And there was a real pattern that emerged where, if you're a close watcher of stuff, you can see that blackness was being used as a way to keep those networks propped up and solid until they got a hit with some show that reflected the mainstream, referring to Fox, UPN, and WB. That happened over and over and over again with all three of those networks. Fox had just a real robust lineup of black content. And the unfortunate thing about it is, once the networks took flight, they became established off of the black talent. Then they sort of just tossed the shows aside. And that is black producers, writers, actors, technicians, makeup artists, all these talent that have to go looking for work elsewhere. Statistics, however, say there's demand for more black faces on the small screen, but it's not just representation that viewers want today. A 2019 study from Horowitz Research revealed Horowitz. Think about that. Anyway, research revealed, that's another topic, 7 in 10 black viewers wished more TV shows and movies showing the diversity of black Americans' experience. Within the past decade, black storytelling has reemerged on screen. It has in sitcom form with Blackish and dramas including Queen Sugar. The latter show is one of the several programs featuring black stars that a lot of people have been praising. OWN apparently has done a good job, according to the person in this article I'm reading. Ava DuVernay produced Queen, and Cherish Today, an anthology series. ABC supposedly is on the right track when they started working with Shonda Rhimes, but and Scandal was a nice one that rode the fine line of connecting a lot of different audiences to showcase something. But these, in my opinion, are still one-offs that people are harping on, are highlighting, but not showcasing the diversity that we as viewers, whether you're black or a person of color, would like to see. And so if you want to read more of this article, definitely check the comment section on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and Twitter, because it's a really good read. So Issa Rae, who, as y'all know or may not know, she's an accomplished Hollywood writer and producer known for her work on the series Insecure, and also a Black Lady sketch show. She's contemplating alternate avenues as a creator due to what she perceives as a shift in industry priorities. In a recent cover story for Net-a-Porter's digital publication, Porter, Rae expressed concern about the cancellation of black shows and the challenges faced by executives in diversity, equity, and inclusion roles. Despite being under a 5-year overall deal with Warner Media, Rae is exploring the possibility of being more independent in the future, which I think is a good route for all of us because we have more control uh, over what we want to put out and how we need to be portrayed. So Issa Rae, who's also a thriving film career, uh, acknowledges the industry's current state but remains determined. Apparently, she emphasizes the importance of diverse representations of blackness and critiques the tendency of white audiences and critics to reward traumatizing depictions. Despite the challenges, Ray is actively working on new projects and feels inspired to focus on the story she wants to tell. In a separate context, the article touches on the decline of black sitcoms on major networks. And like I said, the shows like Blackish, they continue to make an impact, but there's a noticeable decrease in the number of black family sitcoms compared to previous decades, and the nature of them has changed as well. So think about the cyclical nature of pop culture's attention to black life on television, citing historical patterns of peaks and declines in representation. Think about the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, think about now. Despite the rise of reality TV and dramatic narratives, calls are made for more uplifting, family friendly, and laugh out loud black stories on television, like we had similar to our heyday of the golden era in the 90s. So the decline of black sitcoms on major networks over the years reflect a broader cyclical pattern in TV history. While reality TV and dramas have taken precedence, there's still a demand for uplifting family-friendly narratives in the current landscape. So Ray's journey underscores the complexities and opportunities within the entertainment industry, and highlighting the ongoing need for diverse voices and representation on screen. Issa Rae's reflections on the challenges faced by Black creators in the entertainment industry align with a broader discussion that needs to be had surrounding DEI and the initiatives following the racial awakening in 2020. The heightened awareness of racial issues prompted many studios and companies to make promises regarding inclusivity and representation. Ray's experiences and observations contribute to this broader context in several ways. Ray's observation about the cancellation of Black shows suggests that despite the promises made by studios post 2020, there are still struggles to sustain and prioritize content created by and featuring people of color. This highlights a potential gap between the commitments made during the racial awakening and, the actual implementation of inclusive practices in the industry. Ray's mention of diversity executives losing their positions, it echoes a concerning trend where dedicated roles for promoting diversity and inclusion face challenges or are eliminated. This raises questions about the industry's commitment to sustaining efforts to enhance diversity within decision-making positions. Ray's comments on industry shifting priorities and the influence of audience perceptions reflect a complex dynamic. Despite increased awareness, there may be a struggle to shift ingrained biases in audience preferences, with some favoring specific narratives about Black experiences. This dynamic can affect the success and prioritization of projects that challenge stereotypical depictions. And I find that is the most challenging today because people want certain things, the reality housewives, the Love in New York, all the dramatic reality TV shows of the ghetto life, the drama, the fights, or they want some kind of Black trauma instead of something more deeper, where we definitely have to find a way to meet people halfway in a way that we get that kind of entertainment, but combined with things that actually make us think or have more variety in general.
Ray's consideration of taking a more independent path as a creator aligns with a broader trend of artists and creators seeking autonomy. The post-2020 landscape has seen a rise in initiatives and platforms that empower underrepresented voices to tell their own stories without relying solely on traditional studio structures. Ray's commitment to telling meaningful stories despite industry challenges suggests that while there may be a progress in so-called DEI initiatives, as they say, systemic issues still clearly persist, and the industry's response to the racial awakening may require sustained efforts to dismantle ingrained structures and biases. So Issa Rae's experiences and insights contribute to the ongoing conversation about the effectiveness of DEI initiatives in the entertainment industry post-2020. The challenges she highlights emphasize the need for continued scrutiny, accountability, and genuine commitment to fostering a more inclusive and representative media landscape. So as I promised y'all, I want to backtrack to yesterday's episode and give a little more context and remind y'all to definitely go check it out. I talk a little more about the African diaspora. So just stay tuned. I will be right back after this break.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
But isn't that American dream? That American dream is because there's more people that live that type of fucking American reality. But isn't that American dream? That American dream is because there's more people that live that type of fucking American reality.
The history of Black African ancestry and settlement in India is a complex and multifaceted history and story that spans centuries. And while it is challenging to provide an exhaustive, I'm still going to give some kind of like key point for y'all because it's very layered, it's nuanced, and it's something that happened over thousands of years. But I just want to talk about a little bit of things. And historical evidence suggests that there were interactions between Africa and the Indian subcontinent as early as the ancient period. Maritime trade routes connected to the East African coast with the Indian Ocean, facilitating cultural and commercial exchanges. One notable community with African roots in India is the Siddhis. The Siddhis are believed to be descendants of African sailors, merchants, and slaves who arrived in India centuries ago. They have a presence in various regions, and over time, Siddhis have integrated into Indian society while maintaining some of their cultural practices. Some historical accounts mention the presence of Abyssinian Christians in parts of India, and these individuals were believed to have come from the Horn of Africa, including regions like Ethiopia. In fact, people referred to at a time India as Eastern Ethiopia. The historical interactions have left imprints on Indian culture, which influences seen in art, music, dance, and even religious practices. And the same goes for Central and South and Southern United States of America as well. There were known cultures that carried jewelry and gold and different styles of dress and architecture that explorers and historians say were clearly West African culture. So not only was the eastern side of Africa seafarers and traveling and settling, so were the western coast and southern coasts of Africa were doing the same thing as well. Now, what people that are known as the Untouchables are a group of people there's more people known as the Untouchables than there are whole populations of some countries, in the millions of people, and they're unfortunately most of them are in poverty. And the thing about that is these people are, by law, they're not allowed to hold their head high when they're walking in the street, in public. They're not allowed to wear shoes. They are barred from doing certain things in society, and they're made to be treated like shit. And it's millions of people, and they are of Black or African descent. So just keep that in mind. Do your research. Google the Untouchables India African, and you'll start to find more information about them. Even if you go and just Wikipedia India, you start looking through all of the history, the different groups, you can start finding these groups. And then when you go to the groups, you can find more information about these different groups and their ethnicity and their background. You know what I'm saying? It's really deep, but it's important to kind of understand even just a simple context of this stuff. You know what I mean? It's important to note that the history of African settlement in India is nuanced. You know what I mean? And individuals from African descent have contributed to the cultural mosaic of the region over the centuries. However, their historical experiences also include challenges like discrimination and marginalization due to the current caste system. And there's videos that I showed you from yesterday that explain that. So go check out the episode from yesterday, because it dives into more detail as to why Black people in India are now treated like shit. But back in the day, it was the other way around. And if you look at different figures and the religions there and different gods and different figures, they were all depicted with black skin. And there's different texts that talk about how they saw it as flipped. You know how like a lot of people in Europe saw white pure, black bad. It was the opposite there. They saw black good, white bad. So when they depicted the white beings, it was seen as evil. When they depicted black beings, it was seen as beautiful. It was seen as godly. It was seen as regal. And so over time, when the Aryans came in from the north and settled in, they took over, they flipped everything and made this caste system that has stuck and refined and changed over time. So watch that last episode I aired. I showed 2 videos, one of which goes into more detail about Africans in India and how, again, it was known as East Ethiopia. Then the other video talks about how Christopher Columbus even knew that Africans had traveled across the oceans and either settled and stayed, or settled and traveled and traded with people in the Americas. So definitely go check that video out. It's very enlightening. So remember, it's time for the current system to die. It must be unsolved. It must be unalived before it destroys us and this planet. Prepare the casket in service, because this capitalist system, imperial interests, proxy wars, coups, and inequities of wealth must cease. The oppressed of the world are starting to wise up and rise up. Where do you stand now? Are you a part of maintaining the status quo, or are you exposing truths and rewriting history? The coffin is open until the case is closed. Remember, the revolution doesn't end here. Stay curious, question the narratives, continue seeking truth. Share your insights with us, and let's build a community that thrives on knowledge and understanding. Send me stuff, send me links. I love to talk. I love to share knowledge. I love to share information and build a narrative. The coffin is open until the case is closed. Don't forget to tune in next time for another chapter of Revelations. Until then, this is John Tell. Stay revolutionary.